Welcome to the Making Money in the Music Business podcast, where we share insightful views on a variety of topics in the music industry that can help you make more money from your music business. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. William E. Smith and Kenya McGuire Johnson.
Hey, Kenya, we are back.
We are back. You did a solo episode last week.
I did it. Yeah.
Because Kenya was celebrating her birthday.
And yes, I saw the pictures, and yeah, I'm happy you had a great time.
I did. I had a fantastic time. It was really amazing. So go to my social media, Kenya MJ Music, all the places, because I posted. I had fun, and then I also performed, and It was a really special, intimate performance. So I had a really, really fantastic time. So I will do a solo episode. I think I'm gonna try. My schedule is
you can do it.
It's so bad lately. Like I'm attempting to.
You're just blowing up. I mean, things are in the good way. It's more you're coming into the dreams that you have set out for yourself. That's what it
sounds
is.
So beautiful. Yes, I'm coming into my light. Anyway, and she's exhausted. No, so I got to rest in the light. Well, we have a really fantastic guest. We've been bringing a lot of guests that are doing very progressive things. So I hope that our audience, I really hope you're taking note. And sometimes I think as musicians, we can get, caught up in, I remember in the day and, it just should be. But we're pushing the envelope a little bit more with the podcast by bringing you, people in the industry who are doing some really innovative things. And so today is another day like that. But before we introduce him, Will,
I got the music tip. So this is co-signing what Kenya told me months ago to basically check out these different spaces. And this is sort of related to what we talked about last time about going to conferences and making yourself available, networking. Clubhouse, go to Clubhouse. I'm just going to say that. Just go to Clubhouse. We can listen on. You can listen on earlier episodes and me bemoaning the fact that they don't have anything for Android, but finally they got Android. And when I got on Clubhouse, and it took me a while, to really represent myself on there, but I did. And I've been in that music licensing room, and just awesome information, awesome networking. I'm just going to tell y'all, just do it. And you'll meet folks and talk to folks that you normally wouldn't have access to. So it's just like a conference.
I think it's a game changer. It's been a game changer for me and my networking abilities.
Yes,
it really has.
That's the music tip. Go to Clubhouse.
And that would be a tip that Kenya did several months ago. And so we're just redoing that tip. But
we're just redoing it.
If you are not on Clubhouse, I mean, for me, because I do my artist side and then I do my wellness side, I will say the wellness side is what has really my networking. But something really exciting, I have a new room that I co-moderate. It's called Love Songs, Love Lessons. Mm-hmm. And that room has blown up so much that I miss the room a lot because they do it at weird hours. I can't. But what it is, and this is why I'm saying this on our podcast, is we play these love songs and then we break down. We have a relationship expert who's also a neuroscientist break down how these themes of love songs and how they impact our personal lives. And then we just talk about relationships in general. But it gives the artist a chance to talk about their music.
Wow.
And so
awesome.
They've been playing my music. I got all these new followers, people downloading my stuff because they're hearing me talk and hearing my music. Game changer is what I'm saying. So
guess what comes next? Kenya McGuire Johnson NFT.
No.
I'm not playing.
I'm saying I'm in the process now of getting my NFT together.
Awesome. Perfect.
Exclusive. Okay.
Perfect.
Anyway. All right. So that's enough. But yes, there's a lot going on. That was a great music tip. You guys make sure, just go to clubhouse.com, join. And it's going to be a little weird at first, But we'll have to ask our guest if he is a part of that. But speaking of our guest, let's go there. Are we ready to go there, Will? But that was
yes, we are. Come on in.
Okay, awesome. So yes, so again, we've been really pushing the envelope a little bit more this season, bringing in guests that are really heavier in the industry, doing a lot of innovative and new and exciting things. And so today, we let our guests tell their background and tell, more about their product and everything that they're doing. So I'm not going to read a whole blurb, but I have a different background if you're watching us on YouTube, because I'm in my space where I typically am when I'm teaching students and so forth, because I have a second monitor so that I can really read and make sure I'm clear on what I'm doing. But I wanted to say a little bit. First of all, the gentleman that will be on who's our guest, and you're like, who is it? His name is John Waupsh, and yes, I have practiced his last name, so I made sure I said that really right. But before I have John really introduce himself, I want to give you a bit of background. He's the CEO of a new revolutionary mobile banking app just for musicians. Oh my God! It's intuitive for musicians. And so the name of the app is Nerve. And I get excited when I see people take technology that's maybe mainstream type of things, but they really gear it toward musicians and they have backgrounds in music. And I always try to encourage musicians to go in those spaces because they're anticipating how you work. And so then you're not having to do so much on the background. But what's so cool about this is we're called Making Money in the music business. And so this is I'm really glad we were able to bring him on. And so welcome, John. How are you?
Welcome, John. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm doing great. This is wonderful. I'm happy to be here. And yes, I have explored Clubhouse.
Yay. Well, do you like it or not? Oh, okay. All right.
I think it's a great platform. I personally, I have the same issue you mentioned, which is sometimes the timing of the stuff doesn't work with my calendar, but there's always something going on. So you can always pop in. You don't have to participate. You can just listen in the background and learn more than you want to know about almost any topic. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to talk any more about, because Clubhouse is going to have to start endorsing us, right?
Exactly.
But I would love to hear more. I just said that it was a mobile, that Nerve is a mobile banking app, but there's so much more to that and what that means. So if you could just start us off with just telling us a little bit about yourself and a snapshot of what it is, but then we're going to really dig into more of this and
sure.
And how you got it.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I am John, and you nailed my last name. It's Waupsh. For the last 15, 17 years or so, I've been primarily in the world of fintech, financial technology. So effectively, these are the tools, are the companies in the world of fintech are the companies that power the things that you use to move money, to manage your money. Companies like, for instance, PayPal would be seen as a fintech company. So anyway, so my business partner and I, we've been kind of tied at the hip for the last 15 years, working with a company that is a financial technology company. And when I'd say probably 5 or 6 years prior to starting in fintech, I had conned myself that I could be a DJ, and I was in Chicago. And so I thought, well, I can spin some records.
I'm in Chicago, John. Okay, I didn't tell you that. Oh, but go ahead. Yeah.
My favorite town. I'm going to be there in a few weeks. I just love it.
Awesome.
Just a beautiful town. And so I was going to college at Columbia College down there. Uh-huh. And I had a couple of buddies who were making money spinning records, and I thought, wow, this would be a great way to pay some bills. Really what it did, I realized I'm not a very good DJ, I guess, but I realized I'm much more addicted to listening to the music than anything else, and collecting music, and I became really so I was spinning rare funk and soul, and that was
I saw that in your thing, and I was like, oh yeah, John, we got to talk. We got to talk.
Kindred spirits.
Kindred spirits. And I see your shirt. He's wearing a shirt. If you're listening, it says "Dig Deeper," and I'm like, okay, John. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So it got in my blood really, really, really quick. The idea of like sharing music that was hard to come by. That these records were very, very rare records, and I just love the idea of playing music for people that was going to make a move that they'd probably never hear again. And I can remember very clearly, kind of, before I'd put a certain record on, thinking about the person who created this music and thinking, goodness, this person probably died thinking that nobody liked their music. They didn't sell very many copies of it. And now I'm going to put this on the tables, and there will be 400 people dancing to this track.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought about the joy that person, if they were to come back and see these people dancing their music, like what I don't know, it still gives me goosebumps when I think about it.
Yeah.
And but it made me think about what are all the sort of lost opportunities that were out there? Are there other works of art that were created that were never really released? And of course, y'all being in the music industry know that happens all the time. And but in the late 90s, I started collecting acetates and reels of music that was recorded but never actually released. And my hope was that one day technology would kind of catch up. So it started like this lifelong passion of what if I could I like, first of all, save this music from being kind of destroyed because of that media is very fickle and terrible, and one day reunite it with the artist or their families or the people who actually created it and help them make money. And so awesome. That was, that's awesome. Always been kind of percolating and been a passion of mine for the last couple of decades. And it wasn't until about 2015 or so that I guess I started really digging into it with a couple of business partners. And what they helped me do is get I would think of it as like a global group of musicologists and music lovers who kind of helped us piece these stories together and try to find the artists to either get their stuff together for like sync licensing. So I have a label for that, and that I have with a business partner. And then on the opposite side of the coin, where I'm unable to find anything about the artist, but the music is just incredible, I do something that's probably a big no-no, is we release it in very small batches on vinyl, and as like a last-ditch attempt to try to find the artist. And we reserve the money for their families when they come forward.
Oh, wow!
And so that's called Preservation Project, and that's purely a passion. I mean, both of them. I've lost more money in those projects than I'd ever cared about. But it's all about like trying to find these musicians, help them make money where before they have it on this lost, and hopefully find new audiences for this material. And it's really what Nerve is the combination of these two passions, like my passion for fintech and what it can actually enable for people, for humanity in general, and then the passion for helping musicians make more money, manage their money, all of the things.
Wow.
Your heart is coming through on all of this, man. That's deep, because I mean there's families and artists who probably put that out in the universe, that prayer out in the universe, and it takes someone of a special vibration to actually connect to that. So you're connecting to people's prayers and you're making it a reality, and that's that right there, man, that's some heart. So
I appreciate that. I'll tell you thank you. What's been probably even more rewarding than anything is finding that there are several of these organizations who are doing this as well. And whereas this is a fun project for me, there are other organizations that have been really taking this and making it like, their work. And wow. So it's fun to be a small part of it. But it's also really amazing to watch some of these other guys really do, an incredible amount of archaeology almost.
Right,
and then,
right.
And then make it, turn these projects into really major projects and with really big licensing deals and everything else. And so, we try our best. And it's fun to be a part of it.
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so, Nerve is, to be, if you go along the theme of how do we make artists money, my business partner and I first started Nerve was effectively, what we kept hearing from musicians was we want recurring revenue. We want to keep making money. I want a regular paycheck, and I'd like to think of it as like a version of Patreon, but built specifically for music. So we built a streaming audio and video app that allowed artists to kind of they took it to their fan base, and their fan base would subscribe. And that product was called Nerve FM. And unfortunately, we'll be sunsetting that project in January. Okay. But it was a great sort of stab at trying to help artists, and it did help artists, especially during the pandemic, make a regular paycheck. And so those subscribers really did a lot for their for the artists that they were supporting. Mm-hmm. And what we learned in that process, though, was the musicians who weren't on it overwhelmingly were like, "Well, didn't you just say that you were in fintech?" And we're like, "Yeah." I said, "Can you build me a bank?" What do you mean by that? And that's where really all this came from. And they just kind of shook me to my core, because for the previous 15 years, I've not only did I work in fintech, but also I spoke 50 times a year about fintech to audiences all over. I published a book with Wiley. I wrote the book. Wiley published it on fintech several years ago. And so when artists would say, "Well, build me a bank," the natural question is, "Well, tell me what your problem is, and I'll give you the 30 fintech companies that solve it." There are thousands of fintech companies out there. I guarantee you just haven't been looking hard enough. And really, what I learned was there was no company solving the problem, and no company that I think would be better suited to solve the problem than my partner and I. So we said, let's build what in the fintech industry is called a neobank or a challenger bank. And what that means is we're not an actual bank. We're if you've heard of somebody like Chime, is a very that would be a neobank. That's kind of a general purpose. What they have is they're not a bank. They partner with a bank or several banks. So the money is stored with a bank, but they're effectively like a technology company that builds and technology to in that case with Chime solve kind of more general banking, general population retail banking challenges. For us, it's about we partnered with a bank in New York, and we solve the financial challenges and business challenges of the musician or the music creator more broadly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So,
okay, I'll jump in, Kenya.
Yes, go for it. Go for it.
So, I guess we'll get into how all the mechanics work. But one major question, because I did sign up with Chime before, because I just wanted to see what it was and how it worked. And it takes so long for your money to clear. So does Nerve have a solution for that?
I'm not going to talk about Chime anymore. I was just using that one relation, but otherwise, yeah. So it is a great question, which is, so first of all, we are like, because we are in many ways, we're a banking app, right? Is really the right way to describe us. Is Nerve is a banking app for the music creator. What we're enabled, like, as far as access to your money and everything, it's instant. I mean, it's as fast as a very, very fast bank. Now there are a lot of different types of systems that banks use around the country to run their businesses. Right. And so one bank is not necessarily. So in other words, some banks do work slower than other banks based on the technology that they use. Bank that we use happens to, it's a real-time bank. So there's real-time, it's fast. Let me just leave it there. There are processes, though, that exist in banking that do take a while. And that's just the very nature of, like, for instance, when you tell one bank to send another bank money, sometimes that takes a while. Sometimes the banks don't really get around to it as fast as they want, or they'll use rails that are slower. Like ACH is a term that typically takes several days. There's same day ACH, so the money could move faster if the bank is actually part of that system. But anyway, that's in the weeds. Yes, we're fast. But the gist is, like, if you think about our underlying tenet that motivates us is artists and music creators in general should be paid money as fast as they earn it. That's not a, if you think about, like, a BHAG, like a big, hairy, audacious goal, if you were to steal that from other business books, that would be our BHAG. That would be the thing that we feel like ultimately needs to be solved. But it's not necessarily you're going to solve the problem today. We just continue to chip away at it and work at it. And so the acceleration of the money in this industry is something that's, the velocity of those payments is something that's very intriguing to us.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, yes. And so we won't throw Chime under the bus, but that's very, very encouraging, because as musicians, yes, a lot of what we do, we wait a lot for our money, in terms of royalties and, or we get these pennies as independent artists, sometimes with the streaming dollars. But I want to read just real quickly so that people, and then, we can kind of peel this back a bit, of all the wonderful things that Nerve, like what this banking app can do. Because I was researching this because I think it's a really wonderful idea to have one home. So it feels like, in fact, I'm getting my money, on a regular basis, and it's not me in all these different spectrums trying to figure out how to collect it. So just listen, everybody, I'm gonna give some bullet points. Okay. So Nerve is a no account fees. Oh gosh, no overdraft fees, banking service that's available, and it's available in both English and Spanish. So some features: free, easy to open, FDIC insured. Okay. Business debit and saving accounts, huge. Data aggregation. So you can, users can access fully integrated streaming and social data. Free instant payments to anyone with a Nerve account, so you can, translate to each other quick and easy with no fees. Private networking feature, networking to help professional musicians connect and collaborate. So this is like almost like a social kind of, meets money type of space. So that I think is really unique. And then, you have access to ATMs. So there's, like it's saying here, 55,000 free ATMs. So if you're touring,
I mean, you can access any ATM you want, but the
free without the charge.
Free ones are, 55,000 of them. And that's pretty much every CVS, Walgreens, Target. They all, when you walk by and you see All Point, and there's like an All Point network is the name of it. That's they're everywhere.
Right. So when you're touring or when you're out of town or when you're doing, you still have access. And then these last two I think are really important. Well, particularly this one, direct deposit for royalties and other earnings. How about that? Because I think there's some spaces, yes, you can get your direct deposit if you're tied to, I know with my ASCAP or certain things you can, but then there's other spaces where I have to go and I got to go get it and I got to go transfer it over to PayPal and then they got to go transfer it over to my bank. And it's all of this. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, yes. And then automated tax statements and saving statements. So I just think this is really, really good. And I was excited when I was reading about this. So maybe if you could share with our audience, like, how did you, what was kind of the final thing that made you say, okay, this is how we're going to do this?
Yeah, the very first, thank you for that. I cannot tell you how many creators we talk to said, it's just too hard to separate my business money from my personal money. Mm-hmm. And so we say, okay, let's just start with what do you mean by that? Well, if I want to get a business account to separate the money, I talk to the bank or I go online or whatever the case is, and the bank says, oh, cool, we'll get you a business account. You need to have $5,000 minimum in the balance, or we'll charge you $20 a month, or we need, a bunch of paperwork from the Secretary of State or whatever to show your articles of incorporation, all this. And a band is like, well, I haven't even done that yet. Like, we don't have an LLC. Maybe you should, but we don't have one yet. Okay. And so you end up with this, they end up typically with this situation of like, getting the business banking account is really hard. And then, if they do go through the process and they get a business account, so what that means is typically they'll end up commingling their money in their personal account, or they'll, which of course can cause problems if you're in a band or in a group, because everyone's like, are you sure we didn't really make that much money? And you're like, I promise you, we didn't make as much, or gas costs more money than you think. Oh yeah, well then why can't I see it? Well, it's in my personal finances. I don't want to show you that, right? Or the flip side of it is they'll go to like a Venmo or a PayPal, and that causes a lot of other problems whenever it comes time to maybe get a loan, or there's other because now you're outside of the quote unquote traditional financial system. And I don't really know as somebody who's lending you money, did that money come in as tips, or did that money come in from like your Uncle Joe who's just kicking you cash every month, right? And so I don't know if that's business related income or not as a lender or somebody who's interested in helping you out. And so there's this problem around first just getting started. And then there's this getting organized challenge that's like, I wish all of my group mates could see the account and we could see how much money was in there at any given time. I don't necessarily want Joe to be able to move money out. We don't trust Joe, but I do want Joe to be able to see it, right? And so there's that question, and then tracking your income. You mentioned pennies that may come in from it's not uncommon for a creator to have 5, 10, 15 different sources of pennies. Yes. Exactly. And you want to see all that. You want to be nudged if maybe that money stopped coming in from a certain source for some reason. We expect to see that at this time. It didn't come in. What did the disconnection happen, or who knows what's going on over there? And then the third one is just all around like removing stress. Like when we think about this third problem that we heard over and over again, is like, I'm stressed about, you mentioned tax time, stressed around getting paid faster. Some organizations are really great about paying, weekly or monthly. A lot more take quarters, or even depending upon where you are in the world, 24 months to reach your money. And so, there's, how do I get insurance on my gear? We're finally going on the road. Right. And, I want to easily be able to get gear insurance or whatever the case is. And so there's like these three issues. We say, well, we feel like we can knock these out of the park. So the first one on just getting the account. Yeah, you download the app. So you go to nerve.pro. There's a little link there to download the app. It's a weird domain, right? Have you ever seen a .pro domain? Nerve.pro.
.pro. I mean, I hear .co .pro. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that was a little. Anyway, that was a little tip of the hat to Pro Tools. I use Pro Tools all the time, and I was like,
okay. Gotcha.
When you download the app, it takes about 45 seconds for you to actually apply and open the account. Super fast. Wow. If you have a driver's license or an ID, you literally just scan the back, the little code on the back, and that pre-populates everything, and you're off to the races. So now you have the free account. And the way we think about that world is we think of it as like Kenya, the sole proprietor. Now, Kenya she may be in I'll talk about she may be in a group or something else, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the first thing we give you is like this account that's like, Kenya gets paid by a group. Maybe she gets paid by BMI. Maybe she makes money on Bandcamp, and also she, does gigs on the side or whatever. And so she needs an account for that business income right there. And then, and so we make it super easy. There's no paperwork required or anything else. Wow. It's like, you're off to the races. And then the second part about like, well, what about, Kenya's bandmates or anything else? Well, in about a week's time now, the update to the app will enable what we call collabs. So collabs is we have legit collabs that you can create, or you can create like a casual collab. And legit is for like Kenya has maybe a band, or she has an LLC of some type around herself or her entity. And so that's more of like an entity related account. So, and so if you have an entity that's like, oh, our band is S Corp, whatever, what you do is you can easily spin up a legit collab around that band S Corp, and then you would invite your bandmates, and they get the free. All of our products are free, but they get the free account, and then they would say, yeah, I want to be part of this collab, and now those bandmates can see the money. You can say, hey, only I want to be able to move the money, but everybody I've invited can now easily
being transparent. Yeah.
And then on the that would be like legit world is where you've got an actual entity, but then we have casual collabs, which is like, you and Will maybe
for our podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe you co-wrote a song one time and you didn't put an entity around it, but you collect cash, from some PRO, and you need a place for that money to reside where you both can see it. But it's not like you're going to go through the process of forming an entity around that one-time sort of use case, or maybe you're a band and you're just starting out and you haven't done that either, but you want everybody to have access to the finances. So, or you could be a business manager and maybe you want to be in charge of the money, but you want the band that you represent to actually be able to see it. And so anyway, so all those different sort of machinations that gets enabled with collabs. And so that's like a big part of the like getting organized thing. Also, of course, we make it really easy for you to bring in, as you mentioned, your money from these other sources.
So that's still part of your account, right? So if you have that in a separate thing, even if it's a collab, but it's still part of your main account.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about it is they are separate accounts, right? And so what this is just us nerding out for a minute, but like the typical banking answer to this is if Will has a maybe two different business accounts for two different businesses, Will goes and logs in, uses a username and password for one account, and logs out, goes back and for a different username for his other business. The way we do it is we have fast user switching inside of the app. So just like if you had multiple usernames for Instagram or TikTok or something else, you just kind of tap your face and you switch between, your business account, maybe your personal account. You do the same thing inside of our banking app. So we make it super, super simple for you to swap between collabs or between your actual, Will's business. And so it's all just, again, like we try to build everything around this context of what's the easiest way to get a job done, as opposed to what's the banking answer to this. And then the third one around reducing stress is, in a few months' time, we'll have an upgraded product that will actually enable like tax reporting. And that one will be a fee-based product because it'll do some crazy tax reporting stuff for you.
I'm like, I'll pay it.
Yeah. That one's
take
awesome.
my money.
Well, I mean, I think
that will be optional. You won't have to, but
you don't have to. I mean, I think this is really. I just know because of my own having to navigate this personally. I do have a person who is. She's my girlfriend and she's an account. She happens to be an accountant. So she's kind of my bookkeeping person. And so she helps a lot. But I'm just her, I'm not even her side hustle. I'm her girlfriend, so she just kind of helps me out. But I always feel guilty, like, oh my God, I'm paying you 1 cent or not even. And, but this sounds like this is something, that is like your personal, bank assistant. And a lot of musicians, this is why they don't collect all their royalties. This is why they don't do all the business side of it, because it feels so heady. So to be able to have a space that is, really in capturing without you having to have a registered LLC or S corp, that's huge, because that's the other glitchy part, I think, for people is like, well, I'm not at the level yet, to really want to do all of that. So I'll just kind of keep putting it in my regular checking.
This is the fundamental problem. Like, this is the thing that drives me nuts is because people get pushed into this mentality, there is an economic dignity that people are starved of in the music space. Like, there's this level of financial dignity that you feel like you're outside looking in, and that's an unacceptable position. So I mean, and you mentioned like the nerve to nerve instant payments is another example of that. Like, yeah, okay, cool. We can use PayPal, and I can pay you to your PayPal if you're like a session musician or something like that. But what ends up happening is this: I see that little PayPal fee on there, and I go, "Oh, Kenya, you're a friend or a family, right?"
Right. So now you've denigrated my business, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And that's how we dodge the fee. But as soon as we do that, that again takes that payment outside of the world of a dignified payment. Exactly. And so we're like, man, we got to build that. That has to be like part of the internal use of the product. So people really love that. I mean, the other like last one that you mentioned was, or rather, I guess it was somewhere in there, was the DSP, like your stats, your streaming stats. So so if you as long as you're a Spotify artist, if you have your information on Spotify, we grab Spotify, TikTok, Insta, Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Twitter data, and we bring that in and refresh it daily for you, and there's a trend sort of thing, and you can look at it in different ways, and it's really interesting data. What we kept hearing from creators was, every morning I log into these apps and I'll try to remember, where was I last week, or where was I last month? Did I gain, or how's the trend? Right. And it's so the reason why we have it there is just to help you from a business perspective, kind of just look at this and say, how am I doing? And, is this going the right way for me? And where do I need to maybe make some changes? And so it's, anyway, that's where we are today, and what we're actively doing right now is partnering up with, because thankfully we live in this world where, and we were the ones, I guess, crazy enough to build a banking product specifically for music creators. So we're working with organizations that pay musicians or DJs or songwriters, name your music creator, and they have an extraordinary amount of costs in there when they're trying to pay Kenya's PayPal account or Venmo account. They experience fees. And so we're actively working with literally anybody who pays artists and say, hey, let's help you reduce that cost. And then also let's help you get that payment to the artist faster. You may currently be sending that payment to the artist, and maybe you do it on a weekly basis, but it still takes 4 or 5 days to hit that artist's account. We can actually, because of the rails that you're using, the ACH rails or whatever you're using, because we can drop that money directly into that artist's account, we can make it instant and available to that artist on their Nerve card, right now. And so, so that, again, changes that dynamic quite a bit.
I have another question, a real quick question, Will. It's so super quick. It kind of follows up to what he's saying.
It's awesome. Go ahead.
So like, for instance, I performed this weekend and it was a really special, intimate kind of thing. And the person who hosted it said, Kenya, what's your Cash App? Because we want to make sure our audience, gives you money, which was fine and great. And, a lot of people are doing their Cash App. So if somebody wanted to send money directly to my Nerve instead of going through Cash App or whatever, does it have that ability to do
First of all, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I didn't get to say that earlier. So right now, essentially what we're looking at is that would be like a tipping style service.
Right.
And today we do not have that. So the way that would work is if you simply have your Cash App direct deposit into your Nerve account, just like it may be direct depositing into your Bank of America account or anything else. Okay. You would just effectively switch that. We are actively talking to a couple of different companies that are like, and I don't know if y'all are familiar with this, but there are a couple of companies out there that are newer, that are tipping companies specifically for musicians. Mm-hmm. And it's
kind of tip we've done. Will, I don't think we've done a tip.
We haven't done that.
It's really interesting. I mean, think of it as the typical like setup is. I would have to download that organization's app, but I would link my credit card or whatever for payment. And, so this avoids the whole, I don't have cash. And they simply use like a location finding to say, oh yeah, Kenya's playing here. And the money, goes to Kenya, which would then be funneled into her Nerve account. And so that's, again, we really see our like place in life right now as being that, helping these other services that are built around music get that money in one place, allow you to manage that money in a free, easy way. Right. And so I don't necessarily want to create products or services that are going to compete against ones that are already existing, and seem to do it in a really nice way. But anyway, yeah, you ought to take a look at some of those. And I can get you some names after the show if you're interested.
Yeah,
awesome, definitely. So I guess I know our time is gone, but I know that the guys on the streets are going to ask, well, how do y'all make money? If everything's so free, how do y'all make money?
It's a great question. Believe me. Yeah, that's a great question. I get that all the time. And what is a musician if not a little cynical, right?
Exactly.
The way we make money is really simple. There's two very easy ways. The first one is whenever you swipe your card, your Nerve card, we make some of the money that merchants pay to accept MasterCard. So that's what every card you swipe, the bank makes money. We make some of that money. Second way is on the aggregated amounts of the balances. So we don't have any balance requirements or anything else. But if you could imagine, let's say we had 100,000 artists and each one had $1, we have $100,000. And so the bank that we partner with will pay us some money for those deposits, not very much, but they'll pay us some money. Primarily where we make our money is on helping businesses reduce their cost in paying artists. So if a business is currently spending $1 to send Will a payment, we may make 50 cents changing the route of that payment. So again, the ways that we want to make money are outside of the artist's pocket, unless there's like an opt-in service, like I mentioned, which the artist finds value in, which would be like a tax sort of situation where they want us to handle their taxes, or they want to buy, if we do get in the world of selling insurance or warranties, I could imagine we might make some money in that space. But it's outside of the world of charging the artist fees or anything else like that.
Now we love you even more.
I know. I was just gonna say
that's awesome.
But I think this is why. I mean, this would be our last thing because we gotta bounce off. But as you know, in this industry, when musicians are doing things for musicians or people who are lovers of music or just associated with music, they think like how all those things we have to think about. And so I just think, just to encourage artists, if you're like John and maybe your DJ set didn't go exactly the way you planned, there's still these other spaces to be so super innovative right now. So congratulations on launching this. And, we are obviously happy to be spreading the word, and I'm definitely going to be.
And I'll be creating an account.
Pro. Yeah, exactly. So
you have two endorsements already.
Thank you very much.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, anything else before? I guess, we're going to put in our show notes how people, we already said nerve.pro, but is there any other social media spaces you'd like to share so that people can follow or get to know Nerve?
Yeah. We're everywhere at Bank on Nerve. So Bank on Nerve. So Instagram is probably the one that, we're just getting started on all that social stuff. We're the worst. It's kind of like whenever you're the, cobbler's children have no shoes, right? That craze, right?
Well, you know what, to be honest, nowadays with everything going on with Facebook and all the spaces, I think that's another thing that we have to start taking control of our own spaces and our own platforms.
So real. That's real right there. And thank you so much for all of the time. You both are so warm, and I really appreciate the time on the podcast. So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. And we love doing this. We're musicians ourselves, so we get really excited when we
that shows.
Hear cool things. Yeah.
Cool. I'll say another awesome episode, and this is just great. I'm really excited about everything we've done for this season. It's just been a lot of great episodes and great information. So
that's what keeps happening to us. As soon as I'm like, oh, we got to do less. Well, I'm so tired. Then all these wonderful guests come, and I'm like, oh my God, we got to do more.
Yep. The universe says, nah, you all are doing a service that people need to hear. So do it.
Gotta keep doing it. So. All right. Well, you guys enjoy your Thanksgiving. By the time you hear this, it's going to be a time of thanks and indigenous. Let's give some gratitude to indigenous spaces, please. Also during this time, and so enjoy some rest with your families.
Yep. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
All right. Take care.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Please subscribe to our podcast on your podcast player and leave us a rating and review. Also, please leave us a comment on our Facebook or Instagram page. And if you would like to contact us about a specific topic, you can email us at 3mbpodcast@gmail.com.